Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Buckeye Weekly Podcast. I am Tony Gerdeman, here as always with Tom Orr. Tom, how's it going?
Tony, that pause was woefully insufficient. We have had, it has become a tradition for people to comment on Twitter about the length of the pauses, whether it is me doing a pause with you on the morning scoop or you doing a pause on here. It feels like people are downloading them just to hear the pause. So do you want to try that again? Because I feel like you didn't give the audience your best there.
No, I did give my audience my best. It's just I'm trying to move things along. I feel like, Tom, a lot of your dialogue with me is just dawdling and it's boring. So I'd like to just get the show going and give the people what they want. But before we do that, Tom, how's it going?
Tony, that's much more like it. That is the pause that our audience deserves. We have so many wonderful ratings and reviews that people have given us, presumably all specifically for the pauses, and I'm glad you finally see it my way that the audience deserves your very best every episode. So thank you for doing that. Now on with the show. Tony, what are we talking about today?
We are talking about something that I enjoy, and it's kind of revisiting older players and reimagining them in today's Ohio State offense. So what we have decided to do is we are going to have a draft of non-Ryan Day offensive players. We're going to draft those guys into Ryan Day's offense. So we're talking a quarterback each, a running back each, 3 receivers each, and a tight end. We don't need to get into the offensive line stuff. We're just talking skill players because I think it's fun to look at past players who were like, I say this a lot. I feel so bad for Joey Galloway, who was at least 20 years too soon, like born 20 years too early, and he played 30 years ago. And you imagine somebody like that. And when I say somebody like that, if you don't know, Joey Galloway was probably 5'11", 190 pounds, benches 400 pounds, runs a 4.2, just a completely electric punt returner, a dynamic receiver after the catch, and he got to play with like Kirk Herbstreit as his quarterback. And all due respect to Kirk Herbstreit, but that's not Justin Fields, that's not Dwayne Haskins, that's not C.J. Stroud, and it would be nice to see what he could have done. And there's a ton of other guys in that same kind of boat. So, but it's also a different kind of boat when you're talking about drafting quarterbacks, non-Ryan Day quarterbacks to play in Ryan Day's offense, which I'm interested to see how that goes. So that's what we're doing. We are going to draft older players and reimagine them in the Ohio State offense under Ryan Day. And Tom, I figure we will do this a snake draft. And if you would like to go first, and if you have anything else you would like to say.
Well, first of all, can we address your Brett Powers erasure, sir? Joey Galloway did not just play with Kirk Herbstreit.
No, he had Brett Powers,
early career Bobby Hoying, who was rather notably not late career Bobby Hoying, who was a significantly better quarterback. Yeah, so I think that's boy, Joey Galloway is a great pick, and now I kind of want to steal him. He was not going to be my first pick, but now I kind of want to steal him because he is a great example. But I'm going to say, I will tell you, I have a lot of wide receivers on this list because I figured, you and I are going to have a lot of overlap probably. So I think there's so many good wide receivers. I'm going to start at a different position. I'm going to take Troy Smith as my first overall pick.
No, I like that. And for me, it was either start at Troy Smith or load up on the receivers that I really wanted. And I thought, you know what, I'll just let Tom pick first. That way I won't have to decide what to do there. And then now, because it is a difficult decision, because I'm thinking, well, it's probably Troy Smith, but Troy Smith goes to the NFL, and one of the problems he has is accuracy, throwing the ball. But he completed, 65% of his passes under Jim Tressel when he won the Heisman in 2006, which is a much better percentage than just about anybody else before him, which gives you an idea of the passing game at Ohio State. Joe Germain in 98 completed, I think, 61% of his passes, to give you an idea. And then he was throwing for 300 yards all the time. Bobby Hoying in 95 was under 60%, I believe. And so, because when I look at this offense, I think, well, I need somebody that is accurate. And that's kind of where I kind of leaned. But was this a no-brainer for you?
To me, I think this is the position where there's the biggest potential gap between the first pick and the second pick. I have a second pick down, but I think this is the biggest gap. Because, for example, Braxton Miller, I don't think that Braxton Miller necessarily fits well. Like, Braxton Miller was an incredible college football player. I don't know that he necessarily fits in the Ryan Day offense. And Troy Smith, you look at the offense they were running back then, and, no one was, the game has changed so much over the last 20 years, 15, 20 years, that you have to kind of grade people on a curve. If you're completing 60, 65% in the early 2000s, I feel like that curves up to about 72% now. And, the offense is so different. You've got easier throws. You've got, the RPO as a whole has introduced a whole different element to the game. It feels like, and he was enough of a runner. He didn't run as much later in his career, but he was enough of a runner that he would have presented, I think, a really interesting threat in the run game potentially as well, at least as just sort of a constraint, if nothing else. Just, teams have to respect that it's there and can't just completely ignore it. So, this I think was the position where I think there's the biggest gap between 1 and 2, because I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 receivers. Do I only need 6? Yes, but I kind of kept lifting receivers. It was like, oh, he'd be fun to see in this offense. So, I would be happy with, receivers 3 and 4 are still pretty darn good. And I'm not honestly sure. Like, I started making a list and I was like, well, these are definitely the top 3. And then kind of kept going, oh, no, he'd be a good one. Oh, yeah, he'd be a good one. And so I feel like you can take whatever 2 wide receivers you feel like, and I still am feeling pretty okay here.
I have 9 receivers as well, and it's like, well, why? You only need 6, and we're on the same wavelength. It's just fun to put the names down. That's why.
Okay, I want to run through these chronologically and just see if we have exactly the same 9, because that would be incredible. All right, let's see. We'll start chronologically from the earliest. Chris Carter. Mm-hmm. Let's see. Boy, I'm really taxing my brain here. Joey Galloway.
Mm-hmm.
Terry Glenn.
Mm-hmm.
David Boston.
Mm-hmm.
Michael Jenkins.
Mm-mm.
No Michael Jenkins. Okay. Well, and then I have Ted Ginn and Santonio Holmes.
Mm-hmm.
So is that 8 of 9? Okay. Who was your last one that you didn't?
Well, I have Michael Thomas on the list.
Oh, Michael Thomas is a good one too.
I also have Gonzo on the list for a slot receiver.
Yeah, I mean he would.
He's the last guy on the list, but
yeah, he's a good pick, but he's not. I think there's a lot of other people that I would like to see.
Well, there's another name that you didn't mention that I don't even need to take early now.
Okay. All right. Well, then I've forgotten someone obvious. Okay. Well, that's too bad. I was going to be very excited if we had exactly the same 9 people. All right. Go ahead with your picks.
I will. My first pick then is. I also have like six running backs listed because it's just fun to imagine. I will say my last running back listed is Michael Wiley because this is a passing offense, so I'm going to get a passing. If I'm going to get a running back, why not consider a passing running back? But my first pick is going to be David Boston, the best receiver I've ever seen at Ohio State, and I think that's still true, but it's based on me holding that belief since 1998. I don't know that I'm correct on it anymore, but he's as dominating a receiver as I've ever seen. So he's my number 1 pick, Tom. What do you think? Because what I've done is I'm planning on drafting an X and a Z and an H. My second pick is Joey Galloway, and I plan on I'm not going to tell you where I'm going to put him, Tom, but I know I've got David Boston and I've got Joey Galloway. So I've got 2 guys. I've got a 4-4 guy. I've got a 4-2 guy. I've got 2 strong dudes that can also block because, hey, if you want to play in my offense as a wide receiver, you're going to have to block. And so these guys can both hold the edge and manhandle some people. So I like having David Boston and Joey Galloway together. They missed each other by a few years there. Joey Galloway left early, so he could have played in '95, which still would have been a year out of away from David Boston. So those are my first two picks, and I feel pretty good about that. But you could choose any of these two, like 8 or 9 receivers, and it's like I feel pretty good about that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I feel like you could go several different directions here and just go with like the extremely fast guy offense or the guys who catch everything everywhere all the time offense. And any of those are incredibly exciting and incredibly interesting. You have now picked 2 wide receivers, so now I have a lot of I can maybe wait on at least one wide receiver and take a running back here, because I think to me there is a clear-cut number one answer on the running back front here, and that is Ezekiel Elliott. Let me see Ezekiel Elliott running in this, spread the defense out. I think you're going 85 yards through the heart of the South, through the heart of the industrial Midwest, through the heart of whatever. Like he is with some big running lanes, got some real chances to put up nutso numbers on not that many carries. Like he feels like he could have a lot of 15 carry, 180 yard kind of games in this offense. Just the combination of size and speed. And he was okay in the passing game. You're not really picking him to have him be the, a receiver, but man, he as a big play threat and also a just 3rd and 2, like, yep, you're going to pick that up. It'll be fine. That you're not worried about 3rd and 2. You also are just the other team is constantly worried about him going 60 yards, which I think opens up more stuff in the passing game, which then opens up more stuff in the running game. I mean, that just seems like he would be an incredible fit for this offense.
I think he's an argument to be the number 1 overall pick as well, just because he is a complete guy. And the difference that he has over all of the other running backs is he always played. Where, I've got like I said, 6 guys listed, 5 really that I would consider, and he's the only one who didn't miss time. And so when you look at all of these other running backs who you'd love to have in their offense, but do you know for a fact that they're going to play every week? And that's one thing you can count on Ezekiel Elliott. Shoot, even when he was in the hospital, he still played. So I think that's a good pick. Who's your next guy?
I just realized that I didn't say one of the wide receiver names. I only said 8 of them, which is why we're why I was like, how could he possibly have not had a bunch of these people? Well, there you go. So now,
so help me if you take the guy that I wanted because you didn't say him, and
now I want to take him here purely for spite, but instead I'm taking Ted Ginn. Like, I'm sorry, I need to see Ted Ginn in a modern passing offense. I don't care. Like, you're talking about where you want to put guys. Put him wherever. I don't care. You want to play Z? Great. You want to play? Let's see Ted Ginn in the slot. Remember Ted Ginn against Michigan State in the 2004 game where he just took a little slant pass and just turned on the Jets and just went 60 yards for a game-winning touchdown with like a minute left. How many times a year do you think he does that in this offense? Because I feel like the answer is like 15.
I like that one. And Ted Ginn is a guy that another guy that was almost born too soon. And what could he have done? And what could he have done in Urban's offense? What would he have done in Ryan Day's offense? And he wouldn't just be a deep guy. I don't think at all. He's a guy that plenty of screens and things like that, and just get him involved. See what happens. Usually it's going to be something good. So I like that pick. So far you've got Troy Smith, Zeke, and Ted Ginn. That's pretty good, Tom.
That is pretty good. Yeah, I'm just thinking, he's in the slot and you're running an RPO and the pass option is just a little slant or something to Ted Ginn. Like, I think I'm going to take my chances with that one. Would you like me to hand it to Ezekiel Elliott or throw the slant to Ted Ginn when you've moved your linebacker out of the way? Which of those as a defensive coordinator would you prefer?
Yeah, neither. Just blow up the offensive line, please. So then it goes back to me. And let me see, is this the receiver that you forgot to mention, Curtis Samuel?
No, it is not. Oh, that's interesting.
That's who my slot receiver is, Curtis Samuel. Arguably the best, certainly the best H-back Ohio State has ever had. Different position now, but he also proved that he could catch the ball. So I just wanted to get my receivers out of the way. There's no reason to go and grab a quarterback. They're there for me. No reason to grab a running back. He's there for me. So I feel like at this point, I need to wrap up my receivers, and then it would seem odd to go grab a tight end this early. However, why wouldn't I? But Tom, give me your feelings on Curtis Samuel. I think he had one great year, was the best, perhaps the best player in the country that year, but then disappeared kind of from Ohio State existence almost.
He's someone who I think you could put him. I mean, you're not going to list him as a running back because he's not going to be your every down back. But if you wanted to list him as a running back, I'd be kind of okay with that too. But yeah, I give him. He seems like someone who. He always needed more touches. The 2016 Penn State game is a game I always think about with Curtis Samuel. I'm sure everyone else thinks the 2016 Michigan game. 2016 Penn State game, I think he had 2 rushes for 74 yards. And it's like, well, if someone is averaging 37 yards per carry, you might want to explore the space a little bit and see, what would happen if I gave him a third rush? It probably will not go for 37 yards, but what if it went for 10? Like, that would also be pretty good. Like, he seemed like someone who, he was never going to be a 20 carry or, 10 catch a game kind of guy, but just constantly a threat to make a big play. I like that a lot. He was not on my board, but I think I kind of was thinking through like leading receivers from certain teams and, going down the list of year by year leaders and that kind of stuff to just make sure I wasn't forgetting someone. And I don't think he was ever on that list. But just in terms of explosiveness, that's a really intriguing pick.
He did lead them in 2016 with like 74 catches or something like that. Because there was a point in time where he was on pace for 1,000 yards rushing and receiving. We didn't expect that to hold out, but still an interesting weapon. I like my receivers: David Boston, Joey Galloway, Curtis Samuel. Now what do you do at tight end? Because I only have 2 tight ends listed, and the first one was easy. First one I listed was Ricky Dudley because he's a physical phenomenon. But do you need somebody like that? Or the second tight end that I listed, 3-year starter at Ohio State, very solid, Jeff Hireman. And he can block, he can catch. But I think I still, I like star power, and I like the flash and the zazz. Can't get enough of the zazz. So I'm going to go Ricky Dudley here. And you got 3-4 dudes that are going to be tough matchups all over the field. And Dudley, back then you had to be a decent blocker anyway. And a lot of people in 95 want to give credit to Orlando Pace for that running game, but I'll give a heck of a lot of credit to Ricky Dudley as well. So I'll take Ricky Dudley with my number 4 overall pick, tight end. And as we know, Ohio State very affectionately referred to as tight end U. So I think this fits right in line with that.
He was not my number 1 tight end, and it was like, well, I've got a couple people I have down for a second tight end. I didn't have Hireman on the list. But I think, Dudley is, to me, one of the last tight ends where you really thought about him as a real weapon in the passing game. And he ended up playing, did he just play 1 year of football or 2? Might have been 2. It was not long because he played basketball to start his career. I think he started 1 year and then was a first round pick for the Raiders. And I think a relatively high first round pick as well.
9 or
and he
10,
was,
something like that.
Yeah, I think 9 is the number I had in my head. So yeah, he is right. Imagine a current Ohio State tight end being a top 10 NFL draft pick like that. When was the last time you thought this tight end from Ohio State might be a top 10 NFL draft pick? And the answer is Ricky Dudley. So yes, the answer to this also is Ricky Dudley. Yes, I have a couple other names there. I didn't have Jeff Hireman. We'll get to tight end later. I will. I think we'll just
get to tight end now, Tom.
We'll do the bit where we forget the tight end. That'll be the. This is it's an Ohio State podcast. We got to do it. That's canon. Boy, so I've got 2 wide receivers to take here, and I have a lot of very, very, very good choices. I think I think I'm going to go with Terry Glenn as, I don't know, wherever you want to put him. And then Chris Carter. Because Chris Carter seems to me like, Chris Carter is like all the stuff that we say about Jackson Smith and Jigba. It feels like, let's see Chris Carter in Chris Carter's prime with not Jim Carsados throwing to him. Like, I feel like Troy Smith, Ezekiel Elliott, Ted Ginn, Terry Glenn, Chris Carter. Who is stopping me there?
I don't know. It's really impressive when you can have, because as I was looking at this, and we still have on the board Santonio Holmes, Michael Thomas, like Michael Jenkins, who was the all-time leading receiving yardage leader, might be. Yeah, it's an impressive array of dudes. Like even somebody like Devin Smith. I just need a deep guy to drag the defense away from me. Wouldn't be a bad idea, but Ted Ginn, Terry Glenn, Chris Carter. It's one of these. It's a fake team, Tom. It's a fantasy team, clearly.
Yeah, and Devin Smith was the last name I had on my list. I don't know if you didn't have him on your list, did you? Yeah, he was the last guy that I just I skipped him because of going chronologically, and I stopped when I got to Ginn and Holmes. But yeah, he's another one where you could put him out there, and he's playing the Z, and he's just gonna go long, and I feel pretty good about a quarterback's opportunity to hit him if the safeties have to worry about the running game, and yeah, it feels like there's some opportunities here with that offense.
I just imagine the corner defending Devin Smith is like, well, at least I don't have to worry about anybody else. I don't have to worry about what's going on in the middle of the field with this Chris Carter and this Ted Ginn. I can just, and then because I'm running deep, I'll at least have a good shot at an angle on Ted Ginn as I race him to the goal line.
Yeah, I don't think even Ted Ginn running a crossing route away from you, I'm not sure you're going to get the angle on him, but best of luck downfield, friends.
So I am now down to my last two picks, which are running back and quarterback. And as I explained, here are my six running backs that I threw on there. Wiley, the last one, just being a joke, not in jest. But
Nikki Sualua.
Yeah, no.
You're not saying no.
I am not saying no. Even somebody like Matt Keller, like can catch, can run. But obviously I had Zeke number one. But you've got like Beanie. I think Carlos Hyde deserves some mention here. Averaged 7.3 yards per carry in 2003. Still missed a couple of games in there. Keith Byers, I never really got to see him, but huge rushing numbers, led the team in receptions one year. So I feel like if we don't mention him, you might have some people upset. Maurice Clarett at the time was the best Ohio State running back I had ever seen. However, you never know if he's going to be healthy. And so like, if we, I guess in this pretend world, Tom, we can pretend that guys are going to be healthy. As I also drafted Joey Galloway, who missed a season, but that's neither here nor there. But if all things being equal, like Beanie Wells to me in 2007 rushed for 1,600 yards, was a big play home run hitter, was also very physical, like 6'1", 6'2", 230 pounds. I feel like he could get the short yardage and also hit some home runs. He overtook Maurice Clarett for me as the best running back in Ohio State history. And I don't even have Eddie George listed here, which is very odd to me. And I guess I figure he doesn't he's not up to those other guys. And I don't know that that's actually correct, because it would be interesting to watch him in an offense that is spread out as you set loose this 6'3", 227 pounds, as he was listed at Ohio State running back.
Yeah, he was the person I had second on my list. But the question I have is the offense he played in was so different. It was like I formation. That's a very different offense. He was so big and fast that I feel like you're still going to get something real exciting if you pick him. And I kind of just would be intrigued to see what he looks like in a modern offense. But yeah, I had him second. I had Beanie Wells third. Just, big dude. go, just go ahead and get the nice spread out defense with people running every direction and get out the old pushy galore, as you once said about was that Beanie? Was that Beanie
Yes.
Wells? I believe it was. Yes. Tony had a nickname, the Stiff Arm Contest, and Pushy Galore was the winner of that. One of my favorite Tony Gerdeman bits. Yes. The only thing about Eddie that was really intriguing to me was you don't think of him as a receiver, but that 314-yard game against Illinois, he had a touchdown reception in that game as well, where he went way up in the back corner of the end zone and got 1 foot down, where it was like, oh, that was a big time reception. They didn't use him a lot in the passing game, but it was like you saw enough stuff that it was like, okay, you could have used him if you wanted to. So that kind of gives you a little bit of an added dynamic there as well.
But even in 95, let me see, he finished with 47 catches. Like he was really involved because that was the Walt Harris West Coast offense. We're going to throw it into the flats a lot. That's why you had Matt Keller getting catches, the fullbacks getting catches. Like, let's throw a screen to Nicky Sualua. Yes, please. Let's do that. So now, Tom, I kind of have talked myself out of everybody else. I've got enough speed, I guess, on the field. Do I need the fastest running back, or do I just need the guy who is going to keep the chains on schedule? So I think I would really like to see a 6'3", 230-pound running back in this offense. And so I am going to select Eddie George as my running back. He's got a Heisman. Also, Tom, I still would love to see Chick Harley in today's offenses because, I mean, 5'7", 5'8", 100 nothing or whatever. There's a place for that guy. Tavon Austin proved that. Like, the football is so spaced out now. Like, if he was really this fast and this quick, I would just like to see it. And maybe when the NCAA football, EA's college football comes out next year, I'm gonna have a Chick Harley in there and see what he can do as a little dude in today's big time college football.
Can you imagine the NIL deals you're going to get if you're a guy whose nickname is Music and Cannon Fire? Like, oh my lord, the NIL deals you could pick up are, I mean, off the charts. I am slightly annoyed that I managed to talk you into the correct pick there, which was Eddie George. It didn't occur to me that you hadn't picked. You named a bunch of running backs, but you never actually picked. So I'm glad. I mean, I guess I'm glad you've come away to my way of thinking, aka the correct way of thinking. But I am a little bummed that it did make your team better. That's all right.
2-year starter was healthy and didn't miss time like everybody else. Like Beanie, had the foot. Carlos Hyde still missed time. My quarterback, Tom.
Austin Mockerman.
Let me finish. David Priestley. No, yes. I think I have 2 quarterbacks listed, so I'm just going to go with it. But I think I don't know that there's much separation between all of these quarterbacks. So I'm going to go Joe Germain because he was in a passing offense as much of a passing offense as has existed prior to Ryan Day. You took the other guy. I could have gone Joe Germain or Bobby Hoying. There's, Cardale Jones, not really for me because I don't know that he's accurate enough to play in this offense. So that's another area where I was focused on is the accuracy and not that Joe Germain and Cardale Jones had a higher completion percentage than Joe Germain, but the passes I think there's some shorter passes in today's game. Not, Cardale is certainly throwing some deep passes to Devin Smith, but I'm just trying to justify my pick, Tom, by saying Joe Germain. Don't love it, but I think he's going to be okay with these receivers and this running back.
Yeah, and to me, I think there's an argument to be made for Terrell Pryor, but the argument for Terrell Pryor is he's being coached by Ryan Day and not by what was the quarterback coach name
Nick
back
Siciliano?
then? Nick Siciliano, yes. I mean, I see a small gap there in terms of quality of quarterback coaching. So, if we're going to play this out where he's coached by Ryan Day for 3 years, I kind of want to see what that guy looks like after 3 years of Ryan Day coaching. But, if you're going to go based purely on the, the existing stats and existing accuracy as those guys were at the time, yeah, Joe Germain and Bobby Hoying are 2 guys who are kind of similar, not quite as good as, some of the guys that Ohio State's brought in recently, but they are more of a type with Devin Brown, with Kyle McCord, with C.J. Stroud, than the Braxton Miller or Terrell Pryor kind of more run first kind of quarterbacks would be. So yeah, I think that's a perfectly good pick. So you put Devin Brown loses his job to Devin Brown's high school coach. That would be quite a twist in Devin Brown's Ohio State career.
Well, and Joe Germain, I think Joe Germain was a 4th round draft pick, or 4th or 5th round. Bobby Hoying was a 3rd round draft pick, so not a lot of separation there, but did have NFL eyes wanting them. So on to you, Tom.
All right, so I'm going to wrap up with the tight ends, and yeah, Ricky Dudley was the clear number 1 to me here. The other 2 names I have, Ben Hartsock, who was just kind of like always very good, very consistent, caught a lot of passes. If I'm going with someone who I remember, who I saw, I'm going with Ben Hartsock. The other name I have down is John Frank. There have been three tight ends in Ohio State history who have caught more than 40 passes. 2 of them were John Frank, and he had 45 in each of those years. So he had 5 more passes caught in 2 different seasons than every Ohio State tight end in history except for 1. So, I think I might take John Frank just for the shock and the possibility of this is someone who Ohio State could actually throw the ball to a tight end. But I think, Tony, in my final answer though, Orlando Pace. Here's my listen here. No, hear me out here. I feel like I've got Ezekiel Elliott, Ted Ginn, Terry Glenn, Chris Carter. I feel like I'm probably mostly looking for blocking out of that tight end position. So Orlando Pace is my answer. Is that allowed? I mean, I'm asking him to switch positions, but is that allowed?
It's allowed, Tom, and it's infuriating. I hate this answer, but I love this answer.
How many touchdowns better do you think my team is than yours? Because it feels like a lot.
I think you're just going to try to be forcing the ball out to Orlando Pace. And is it going to work? Of course.
Only in the red zone.
I'm so mad at you right now, Tom. But I have to allow it. So, yeah, Orlando Pace at tight end. We saw it with Army a few years back when they had they moved a tackle to receiver, and then he ended up going to the NFL as a tackle and played for a long time with the Steelers. So there is precedence there, Tom, and we know Orlando Pace could have done it. You could shoot. If I should have put him as slot receiver.
Talk about a mismatch. What was he, 6'7" and 330 or so? Like, good luck putting a slot corner on that guy. You have to have a nose tackle covering in the slot. That really creating some problems for the defense there.
Although you know who my slot corner is, Antoine Winfield. Tell me you wouldn't want to watch that matchup.
I'm officially intrigued. Yes, go on.
Tell me more. So okay, good job, Tom. That one wins it for you right there. That's that.
Have you seen the meme where it's the time travel meme where it's like a girl, what would girls do with time travel? What would boys do with time travel? And girls is like, hi, I'm your granddaughter. And then really? And then the boys would be, I want to put Orlando Pace at tight end in an Orion Day offense. That's me. I'm that meme.
But that makes sense. That's what science should be about. Inventing a time machine to do something like this. And be like, you go back to 1994, 95, 96, like, Orlando, you have to come with me. We've got to save the future. And then you get there and it's like, actually, I just wanted you to play tight end. And it's like, I left my family for this. I'm missing classes right now. My parents don't know where I am. And you brought me here. And it's like, yeah, I just want to see it. I'm curious.
Well, and his son is on the team. Jalen Pace is a walk-on the team. So you're running into space-time continuum issues where you might, tear the entire universe apart. But on the other hand, still kind of want to see it. So
it's like you're saying it would be worth it.
I'm just saying I'm still thinking about it.
So Orlando Pace comes to the future and he looks at the Ohio State roster and he starts to see the picture of his son on the roster like fading away, like Back to the Future. Like you're saying that would all be worth it.
Well, I mean, we get him back to 1995 eventually. And also, hey, while you're there, tell Bill Young, watch out for Biaka Patuka. We could save the present and the past.
And also get some cleats on Sean Springs. I think, Tom, you're onto something now.
There you go. See, saving the universe. Ruining every Ohio State fan's day as we're talking about this stuff, but saving the universe, so.
Maybe we should end the show then, since you have brought us all down, Tom. So thank you for that. So let's run this down. So you've got Troy Smith, Ezekiel Elliott, Ted Ginn, Terry Glenn, Chris Carter, and Orlando Pace. I have Joe Germain, Eddie George, Heisman winner, David Boston, Joey Galloway, Curtis Samuel, and Ricky Dudley. I guess go ahead and vote on your machines there at home and let us know who won. And if it's because of Orlando Pace, make sure to let us know that as well, because that's totally unfair. And that's just, it's very wrong and very right by Tom, but I can't blame you for that one. That's why you're who you are. You're sneaky. That's what people say about you. Tom is sneaky. Anything else before we go?
Nope. Let's sneak out of here.
Yeah, just like you. Yeah. Anyway, want to thank you all for tuning in. Thank you for enjoying this exercise or putting up with it as we enjoyed this exercise. Also, check out the rest of the shows here on the network. Tom with the Morning Scoop. You can catch him be sneakily counting down the days to the Michigan game, to the season opener. Kevin Noon with the Big Me Kickoff. Mark Givler and Bill Green with Gives in the Bank, and Alex Gleitman with Around the Oval. Check all of those shows out on your podcast platform of choice. Thanks for tuning in. We will see you later.